Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty and watched the space around him fill with alien ships. The view screen showed hundreds of vessels from 12 different alien races, all gathered here in the Andromeda sector. Their ships were massive, beautiful, and deadly. Some looked like living creatures with smooth curves and flowing lines. Others were made of crystal that caught the light from nearby stars and threw it back in rainbow colors. Still others seemed to be made of pure energy, glowing and shifting like colored smoke. Jake had been in space for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The human fleet looked tiny next to the alien armadas. 27 human ships sat in a loose formation, dwarfed by the hundreds of alien vessels surrounding them. The USS Liberty was one of the larger human ships, but next to a Zephyrian biocruiser, it looked like a toy. Captain Lisa Bennett walked up beside him. She was his second in command and had been his friend for 10 years. Her face was calm, but Jake could see the worry in her eyes. She held a data pad that showed the tactical situation. The numbers were not good. The Zephyrians brought 312 ships, she said quietly. The Veltari have 147 of their crystal dreadnoughts. The Nethek fleet has 86 energy ships, and that's just the 3 biggest groups. The other 9 races brought at least 30 ships each. Jake nodded. He had already seen the numbers. Over 1,000 alien ships against 27 human vessels. It should have been terrifying, but Jake felt strangely calm. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for 53 years, ever since they first joined the Galactic Council. The conflict was over the Kepler system. It was a group of planets rich in rare minerals that several races wanted to claim. The Zephyrian Empire said it belonged to them because they had discovered it first. The Veltari claimed it was in their territory according to ancient star maps. The Nethek said their ancestors had visited those worlds thousands of years ago. Humans had recently established mining colonies there, and now everyone wanted to fight over who owned what. Admiral HFY of the Zephyrian Empire had called for this military demonstration. He said it would settle the matter once and for all. The race with the strongest fleet would get to keep the Kepler system. It seemed like a fair way to solve the problem, except that everyone knew the human fleet was the smallest and weakest. Jake's communication officer, Lieutenant Danny Park, looked up from his station. "Sir, we're getting a transmission from the Zephyrian flagship. Admiral HFY wants to speak to all fleet commanders." "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. The view screen flickered and showed Admiral HFY. He was a Zephyrian, which meant he looked like a giant insect. He had 4 arms, compound eyes, and mandibles that clicked when he spoke. His skin was dark green and shiny, like armor made of living metal. Behind him, Jake could see the bridge of his ship, which looked more like the inside of a giant creature than a spacecraft. "Greetings, fellow commanders," HFY said. His voice was translated into English by the ship's computer, but Jake could hear the clicking and buzzing sounds underneath. "We have gathered here today to settle the question of the Kepler system once and for all. Let the strongest fleet claim the prize." Other alien commanders appeared on smaller screens around the main display. Prime Crystal Zexthen of the Veltari looked like a living diamond with light flowing through her transparent body. Energy Lord Vashko of the Nethek was harder to see clearly because his form kept shifting and changing like colored gas. Admiral HFY's mandibles clicked in what Jake knew was laughter. "But first, let me address our human friends. Commander Morrison, I must ask what you hope to accomplish here. Your fleet is so small I almost didn't notice it when we arrived." The other alien commanders made sounds that their translators turned into laughter. Prime Crystal Zexthen's body flashed with bright colors. Perhaps the humans are lost? Their primitive navigation systems may have brought them to the wrong place. Energy Lord Vashko's form pulsed with what looked like amusement. "I have studied human technology. They still use chemical rockets for propulsion. Their weapons fire metal projectiles using explosive charges. Such crude methods belong to the Stone Age of spaceflight." Jake felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his voice calm when he replied. "We're here to defend human settlements in the Kepler system, Admiral HFY. Our people have a right to live there peacefully." HFY's laughter grew louder. "Your people? You mean the few thousand miners scratching at rocks on those barren worlds? They are nothing. Your entire species is nothing. You have been part of the Galactic Council for barely 50 years. We Zephyrians have ruled space for over 2,000 years. The humans are like children playing with toys, added Zex then. Their ships are made of simple metal. They do not understand the deeper mysteries of matter and energy that true spacefaring races have mastered. Jake opened a private channel to Captain Danny Rogers aboard the USS Freedom and Lieutenant Commander Amy Price on the USS Justice. Both ships were positioned on the flanks of the human formation. You hearing this? Rogers asked. His voice was tight with anger. They're talking about us like we're not even here. Stay calm, Jake replied. Remember what we're really here for. This isn't about proving anything to them. We just need to protect our people. Amy Price's voice was steady. The other races are moving into attack positions. Their formation suggests they plan to overwhelm us with superior numbers. Jake switched back to the main communication channel. Admiral Kethvar was still talking, his voice full of contempt. Look at their pathetic fleet, he was saying. 27 ships against over 1,000. Their largest vessel would barely qualify as an escort ship in any proper navy. And they dare to challenge the might of established galactic powers? Other alien commanders joined in the mockery. A reptilian Sauron captain hissed his amusement. Human weapons cannot even penetrate our basic shields. Their metal bullets will bounce off our hulls like raindrops. A crystalline Veltari sub-commander added, their crude understanding of physics limits them to such basic technology. They have not learned to bend space and time to their will as we have. Jake had heard enough. He stood up straighter and looked directly at Admiral Kethvar on the screen. Admiral, we didn't come here to trade insults. If you want to settle this matter through combat, then let's get started. But don't expect us to just roll over because you have bigger ships. Kethavar's compound eyes seemed to glitter with anticipation. Very well, human. You have chosen your fate. When this is over, your species will learn its proper place in the galaxy. You will serve your betters as is fitting for a primitive race. The transmission ended and the alien fleets began to move into attack formations. Jake watched as hundreds of ships positioned themselves around the small human force. It looked like a pack of wolves surrounding a few sheep. Captain Bennett moved to her station and began checking weapon systems. All ships report ready for combat, she said. Though I have to admit, this looks pretty hopeless. Jake smiled for the first time since the confrontation began. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small communication device that looked different from anything else on the bridge. It was sleek and dark, with no visible buttons or displays. Lisa, do you remember what I told you about hope? She looked at the strange device in his hand. You said hope is what you have when you know something your enemy doesn't. Jake nodded and spoke into the device. Control. This is Morrison. Authorization code Thunder 77. Execute Operation Lazarus. Far away, hidden in the shadow of a massive asteroid field, something stirred. The alien sensors, focused on the human ships they could see, had missed the enormous signature, lurking just beyond their detection range. Something was waiting there. Something that would change everything the aliens thought they knew about humanity. The battle was about to begin, but the real surprise was still to come. The first shot came from Admiral Kethvar's flagship at exactly 800 hours Galactic Standard Time. A massive bioweapon launched from the Zephyrian ship like a living missile. It twisted and turned through space, hunting for the heat signature of human engines. Jake Morrison watched it streak toward his fleet on the main screen of the USS Liberty. All ships, execute pattern Delta 7, Jake commanded into his communicator. Captain Bennett, bring us about to bearing 270. Rogers, take your squadron and flank left. Price, maintain center formation with the heavy cruisers. The human ships began to move in a coordinated dance that surprised the watching aliens. Instead of the slow, lumbering movements the aliens expected from primitive chemical rockets, the human vessels darted and weaved through space with surprising speed and agility. The Zephyrian biomissile locked onto the USS Liberty's heat signature and dove toward the ship. Captain Bennett gripped her chair as the bridge shook. Incoming missile, impact in 15 seconds, she called out. Jake remained calm. Execute evasive maneuver Gamma 3. The Liberty suddenly changed direction, using short bursts from maneuvering, thrusters positioned all around the hull. The biomissile, designed to track heat, lost its target as the ship's engines went cold for 3 seconds. The living weapon flew past harmlessly and exploded against an asteroid. How did they do that? Admiral HFY demanded on his bridge. Our bioweapons never miss. They follow heat signatures until impact. His tactical officer, a smaller Zephyrian with bright blue chitin, buzzed nervously. Sir, the human ship shut down all heat sources for exactly 3.2 seconds. Our weapon lost target lock. Meanwhile, the Veltari crystal ships were firing their own weapons. Beams of concentrated light shot from their geometric hulls, hot enough to cut through asteroid belts. The beams moved at light speed, making them almost impossible to dodge. Captain Danny Rogers, commanding the USS Freedom, found himself directly in the path of one such beam. This is going to hurt, he muttered, then keyed his communicator. All hands brace for impact. But instead of trying to dodge the beam, Rogers did something unexpected. He fired the Freedom's main engines at full power and dove straight toward the Veltari ship. The crystal beam passed over his hull, missing by mere meters. Impossible, Prime Crystal Zex then said, her diamond body flashing with confusion. No pilot would fly directly at a dreadnought. It goes against all tactical sense. The Freedom continued its dive, firing tungsten kinetic rounds from its railguns. The metal projectiles, moving at tremendous speed, struck the Veltari ship's crystal hull. The aliens had expected the primitive human weapons to bounce off harmlessly, but the tungsten rounds punched right through the crystal matrix. Their weapons are more effective than predicted, reported a Veltari subcommander. The kinetic energy is causing resonance fractures in our hull structure. Lieutenant Commander Amy Price aboard the USS Justice was facing her own problems. 3 Nethek energy ships had surrounded her vessel, firing streams of superheated plasma. The Justice's shields were failing under the constant barrage. Captain Price, came Jake's voice over the communicator. Execute maneuver Whiskey 4, Amy smiled grimly. Copy that, Commander. The Justice suddenly released a cloud of metallic chaff from its hull. The tiny metal particles scattered in all directions, creating a dense cloud around the ship. When the Nethek plasma beams hit the chaff, they were scattered and reflected in dozens of directions. The energy weapons became harmless light shows. Energy Lord Vashko was baffled. How are these primitives countering our weapons? Their technology should not be capable of such tactics. His science officer, a being of shifting purple energy, pulsed with uncertainty. Lord, they appear to be using our own weapon characteristics against us. They understand our weapons better than we expected. Captain Steve Parker, commanding the destroyer USS Ranger, had noticed something important about the alien ships. Commander Morrison, he called over the comm. These alien engines are built for straight-line speed, not combat maneuvering. They can't turn like we can. Jake processed this information quickly. The alien ships were indeed faster and more powerful, but they had been designed for different types of combat. The Zephyrians were used to overwhelming enemies with superior numbers. The Veltari relied on their powerful weapons to destroy targets at long range. The Nethek used their energy forms to phase through enemy attacks. None of them were prepared for the type of close quarters, high maneuverability combat that human ships were designed for. All ships, Jake broadcast, close to knife-fighting range, use our maneuverability advantage. The human fleet suddenly changed tactics. Instead of maintaining long-range formations, they dove toward the alien ships. The USS Liberty led the charge, weaving between Zephyrian bioships while firing short bursts from multiple weapon systems. The aliens found themselves in an unfamiliar type of battle. Human ships darted between their formations, striking at weak points and disappearing before return fire could be targeted. The USS Defender, under Captain Rachel Stone, actually flew through the middle of a Veltari formation, firing in all directions. They fight like insects, Admiral HFY snarled. No honor, no formation discipline. But the human tactics were working. The USS Guardian, commanded by Lieutenant Commander Tony Baker, used its smaller size to hide in the shadow of a damaged Zephyrian ship, then emerged to attack another vessel from behind. The aliens began to adapt, however. There were simply too many of them, and their weapons were too powerful. The USS Defender took a direct hit from a Nethek energy beam, and Captain Stone's voice crackled over the comm. "We've lost main engines and shields are down to 12%. We're sitting ducks out here." The USS Guardian suffered worse luck. A Zephyrian bioweapon managed to attach itself to the hull and began eating through the armor. Lieutenant Commander Baker ordered his crew to abandon ship just before the living weapon reached the reactor. "Guardian is gone," Baker reported from an escape pod. "The bioweapon consumed the entire engineering section." Jake watched his fleet being slowly overwhelmed despite their tactical advantages. For every alien ship they damaged, 3 more took its place. The human ships were fighting brilliantly, but mathematics was against them. Admiral Kethvar's laughter echoed across all communication channels. "Your clever tricks mean nothing against superior numbers and technology, humans. You fight well for primitives, but you cannot win. Surrender now, and we might allow some of your species to survive as servants." The USS Liberty shook as another bioweapon exploded nearby. Sparks flew from control panels and the lights flickered. Jake wiped blood from a cut on his forehead where he had been thrown against a console. Captain Bennett looked at him with grim determination. "Sir, we've lost 6 ships. The rest are taking heavy damage. We can't keep this up much longer." Jake nodded slowly. The human fleet had fought better than anyone expected, but they were losing. It was time for the next phase of the plan. He reached into his jacket and pulled out the same strange communication device he had used earlier. "Control, this is Morrison," he said into the device. "Authorization code Thunder 77. Execute Operation Lazarus immediately." Somewhere far away, hidden in an asteroid field that the alien sensors had dismissed as unimportant, something enormous began to move. The aliens were so focused on destroying the human ships in front of them that they had forgotten to watch their backs. The real battle was about to begin. The asteroid field had been quiet for hours. The alien sensors had scanned it briefly when they first arrived, but found nothing interesting. Just rocks and dust floating in space, the leftover pieces from some ancient planet that had been destroyed long ago. None of the alien commanders paid it any attention after that first scan. They were too busy preparing to crush the small human fleet. But now, something was moving in that field. Something massive. The first sign was a change in the asteroids themselves. They began to drift apart, pushed aside by something enormous emerging from their midst. Then the alien sensors registered an energy signature unlike anything in their databases. It was huge, powerful, and completely unknown. Admiral Kethvar noticed it first. His bioship's living sensors suddenly screamed warnings about a massive object approaching from behind the alien formation. "What is that?" he demanded, his mandibles clicking with confusion. On every alien ship, alarms began to sound. Sensor operators stared at their displays in disbelief. The energy readings made no sense. The object was 15 kilometers long, but it was not broadcasting any identification signals. It was not in any ship database. It should not exist. Then it came into view. The UES Leviathan emerged from the asteroid field like a sleeping giant, awakening. It was massive beyond anything the aliens had expected from human technology. The ship was longer than most space stations, and its design was unlike any human vessel they had ever seen. Instead of the simple metal boxes they were used to seeing, this ship had organic curves mixed with crystalline structures and flowing energy patterns. Captain Nicole Hayes stood on the bridge of the Leviathan, watching the alien fleets on her main screen. She was a tall woman with graying hair and calm eyes that had seen many battles. She had been waiting for this moment for 3 years, ever since the ship had been completed. "Open a channel to all human ships," she ordered her communications officer. Lieutenant Commander Pete Davis nodded and activated the transmitter. "Channel open, Captain." Nicole smiled slightly. "Sorry we're late to the party, Commander Morrison. We were conducting final system checks on some new equipment. The alien fleets had stopped their attack on the human ships. Every commander was staring at the massive vessel that had appeared behind them. Their weapons were still trained on the small human fleet, but their attention was now divided. Admiral HFY tried to scan the enormous ship, but his biosensors could not make sense of what they found. The energy readings were off the charts. The hull material appeared to be some kind of living metal that shifted and changed as he watched. Parts of the ship looked like Zephyrian biotechnology, but improved in ways he did not understand. "What is this?" he broadcast on all frequencies. "Human technology cannot produce energy signatures of this magnitude. This must be some kind of deception." Commander Jake Morrison, still aboard the damaged USS Liberty, allowed himself to smile for the first time since the battle began. Blood was still trickling from the cut on his forehead, but his voice was steady and confident. "Admiral HFY, allow me to introduce you to the first ship in humanity's new fleet. We've been working on some upgrades." The Leviathan began to change as they watched. Its hull rippled and flowed like liquid metal. Weapon systems emerged from hidden compartments, but they did not look like human weapons. Some had the organic curves of Zephyrian biotechnology. Others had the geometric precision of Veltari crystal systems. Still others glowed with the shifting energy patterns of Nethic plasma technology. Prime Crystal Zexthen's diamond body flashed with confused colors. "This is impossible. Humans lack the understanding of multidimensional physics required for such technology. Your species has been observed for decades. You are limited to basic matter manipulation." Captain Hayes activated the external speakers, so her voice could be heard by all the alien fleets. "For the record, you're right about one thing. Traditional human technology would never be a match for your advanced civilizations. That's why we stopped using it." Energy Lord Vashko's gaseous form pulsed with disbelief. "You stopped using your own technology? What does this mean?" Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim, the Leviathan's science officer, provided readings from her station. "All systems online, Captain. The integration is holding steady at 97% efficiency. Biomechanical components are responding normally. Crystal matrix is stable. Energy field generators are operating within acceptable parameters." The truth was beginning to dawn on some of the alien commanders. A Sauron captain was the first to voice what others were thinking. "They have combined our technologies. Look at that ship. It has elements from all our civilizations." Admiral HFY's compound eyes focused on the massive human vessel. Now that he looked more carefully, he could see what the Sauron meant. The ship's biomechanical sections were definitely based on Zephyrian technology, but they were different. Improved. The organic components seemed more efficient, more responsive than anything his own engineers had created. "Impossible," he buzzed. "Our biotechnology is the result of thousands of years of evolution and development. You cannot simply copy it and make it better." Commander Morrison's voice came across all channels, calm and confident. "That's where you made your mistake, Admiral. You observed us, but you never tried to understand us. Humans don't just use technology. We adapt it. We learn from it. We make it better." The implications hit the alien commanders like a physical blow. For 53 years, humanity had been part of the Galactic Council. For 53 years, they had been treated as junior partners, primitive newcomers who had little to contribute to galactic civilization. The other races had shared their knowledge freely, confident that humans lacked the ability to truly understand advanced technology. But humans had been learning. Every trade agreement had been an opportunity to study alien engineering. Every cultural exchange had been a chance to observe how different species approached the same problems. Every diplomatic mission had been a chance to gather information about technologies that were far beyond human understanding. The Leviathan continued to transform as they watched. Its hull sections rearranged themselves with fluid grace. Ports opened and closed like living tissue. Crystal formations grew along the surface, pulsing with internal light. Energy fields danced around the ship like colored aurora. A Veltari subcommander transmitted harmonic frequencies of amazement. "They have not simply copied our crystal technology. They have integrated it with organic systems. This should not be possible." Crystal and biological systems are incompatible. Captain Hayes responded to the transmission. You're right that they're incompatible when used separately. But when you combine them with energy manipulation systems and add human engineering principles, they work together beautifully. The Leviathan demonstrated this by extending crystalline formations from its biomechanical hull. The crystals grew like living things, but they maintained the geometric precision of Veltari technology. Energy from Nethek-style generators flowed through the crystal matrix, creating a network of power distribution that was more efficient than anything any single race had achieved. Admiral Kethvar finally understood what he was looking at. You have been stealing from us for decades. Every time we welcomed you to our worlds, every time we shared our knowledge, you were gathering intelligence for this moment. Not stealing, Commander Morrison corrected. Learning. There's a difference. We didn't take your technologies and use them against you. We studied them, understood them, and found ways to make them work together. You've been thinking in isolation for so long that you forgot what cooperation could achieve. The alien fleets found themselves facing something they had never encountered before, a human ship that represented the best of all their civilizations, combined and improved by human ingenuity. The Leviathan was not just bigger than their ships, it was better. It was what happened when different approaches to the same problems were brought together and refined by minds that saw possibilities instead of limitations. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted, and none of the alien races were prepared for what came next. The Leviathan moved through space like a living creature, despite its massive size. Captain Nicole Hayes watched the alien fleets on her screen as they tried to understand what they were seeing. Their ships had stopped attacking the smaller human vessels and were now focused entirely on the enormous mothership that had appeared behind them. All weapon systems are online and ready, reported Lieutenant Commander Pete Davis from his tactical station. The integration protocols are working perfectly. Biomechanical launch systems are responding to crystal matrix targeting data, and the energy field generators are providing stable power to all systems. Nicole nodded. Very good. Let's show our alien friends what happens when you combine the best ideas from multiple civilizations. The first demonstration was subtle but effective. The Leviathan's hull began to ripple and change, sections sliding over each other like scales on a snake. Biomechanical components flowed into new configurations, while crystal formations rotated and aligned themselves with mathematical precision. The entire ship was reorganizing itself in real time, adapting its structure for optimal combat efficiency. Admiral Kethvar watched in fascination and horror as the human ship transformed itself. Our biotechnology can adapt and change, but not like this. This is evolution happening in minutes instead of years. The ship's primary weapons came online with a sound that seemed to vibrate through space itself. Biomechanical launch tubes emerged from the hull, but instead of the living missiles that Zephyrian ships fired, these tubes were lined with crystal matrices that glowed with internal energy. The combination of organic flexibility, crystal precision, and energy manipulation created weapons unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Fire a demonstration shot, Nicole ordered. The first projectile launched from the Leviathan was invisible to normal sensors. It phased through multiple dimensions using Veltari space-folding technology, guided by Zephyrian biosensors and powered by Nethek energy manipulation. The projectile simply disappeared from normal space and reappeared inside a Zephyrian bioship, materializing directly in the engine room. The bioship shuddered and went dark as its main power systems were surgically destroyed. The crew was unharmed, but the ship was completely disabled. The projectile had bypassed all shields, all armor, and all defensive systems by simply not existing in normal space during its journey. Impossible, Admiral Kethvar transmitted, his voice full of disbelief. Our sensors detected no weapon launch. How did you disable that ship? Commander Jake Morrison answered from the USS Liberty. Phase shift kinetic projectiles. We combined your bio-guidance systems with Veltari dimensional technology and Nethek energy manipulation. The projectiles fold through space and materialize inside the target. A second demonstration followed immediately. 5 more Zephyrian ships found their main systems disabled as projectiles appeared inside their hulls. Then 10 Veltari crystal Ships suffered the same fate. The weapons were completely invisible to conventional sensors and impossible to defend against using traditional methods. Prime Crystal Zexthen's diamond body flashed with panic colors. This violates the basic principles of combat. Weapons cannot simply appear inside defended targets. Our shields should prevent any such attack. Captain Hayes smiled slightly. Your shields are designed to stop attacks coming from outside your ships. These attacks are coming from inside dimensional space. By the time the projectiles exist in normal dimensions again, they're already past your defenses. The Nethek fleet tried to counterattack, firing streams of superheated plasma at the Leviathan. Energy Lord Vashko directed the assault personally, pouring the combined firepower of 30 energy ships into the human mothership. The plasma streams would have vaporized any normal vessel. But the Leviathan did something that shocked every alien observer. Instead of being damaged by the energy weapons, the ship absorbed them. The biomechanical hull sections literally fed on the plasma energy, growing larger and stronger with each attack. The crystal formations channeled the energy through the ship's systems, and the energy field generators converted the incoming weapons fire into power for the Leviathan's own systems. You're making us stronger, Nicole broadcast to the Nethek fleet. Thank you for the energy donation. Lieutenant Commander Grace Butler, monitoring the ship's biomechanical systems, reported increasing efficiency. Captain, the biocomponents are adapting to the energy input. They're actually evolving to process plasma more efficiently. Each attack makes them better at absorbing the next one. The concept horrified the aliens. Energy Lord Vashko stopped his attack immediately. They are using our own weapons to power their ship. This is beyond any technology we understand. But the most impressive demonstration was yet to come. The Leviathan began to replicate itself, using advanced matter manipulation technology that combined principles from all three major alien civilizations. The ship started growing smaller versions of itself. The process was mesmerizing to watch. Biomechanical systems divided and multiplied, like living cells. Crystal matrices split along mathematical lines and reformed into new configurations. Energy patterns flowed from the mothership into the new vessels, bringing them to life. Within 30 minutes, the human fleet had grown from 27 damaged ships to over 100 advanced hybrid vessels. Each new ship was a perfect combination of alien technologies improved by human engineering. They were smaller than the Leviathan, but far more advanced than any ship the aliens had ever built. Commander Morrison transferred from the damaged USS Liberty to one of the new ships, the UES Defiance. The bridge was unlike anything he had ever seen. Biomechanical controls responded to his thoughts. Crystal displays showed information in 3 dimensions. Energy fields provided power that seemed unlimited. All new vessels report ready for action, he announced. We now have numerical superiority, technological superiority, and tactical superiority. The alien fleets found themselves surrounded by ships that represented the pinnacle of their own technological achievements, but combined and enhanced in ways they had never imagined possible. A Sauron captain tried to scan one of the new human ships and found that his sensors could not even classify what they were detecting. These vessels are using our own technologies against us, he reported to his fleet commander. But they are using them better than we do. The demonstration continued with defensive systems that adapted in real time to any threat. When Veltari ships fired crystal beams, the human ships' hulls automatically configured themselves to deflect or absorb the energy. When Zephyrian bioweapons attacked, the ship's own biomechanical systems simply ate the attacking organisms and converted them into useful materials. Admiral Kethvar watched his most advanced weapons being neutralized by ships that used improved versions of his own technology. This is our biotechnology, but perfected beyond what we thought possible. Not just perfected, Commander Morrison replied. Integrated. You've been developing your technologies in isolation for thousands of years. Each race focused on their own approach and ignored what others were doing. Humans looked at all your approaches and found ways to make them work together. The human ships demonstrated capabilities that exceeded what any single alien species had achieved. They showed faster-than-light communication using hybrid crystal biotechnology. They displayed matter replication systems that combined multiple alien approaches. They revealed defensive systems that adapted to any threat by learning and evolving, in real-time energy. Lord Vashko's gaseous form pulsed with something that might have been respect. "You have taken our greatest achievements and made them greater. How is this possible?" Captain Hayes answered from the Leviathan. "Because we never assumed that one approach was the only right approach. Zephyrian biotechnology is amazing for adaptation and growth. Veltari crystal systems are perfect for precision and power. Nethek energy manipulation is excellent for flexibility and efficiency. But when you combine all three and add human engineering principles, you get something that's better than any of them alone." The alien fleets were no longer attacking. They were simply watching in amazement as humanity demonstrated what true technological integration could accomplish. The silence in space was complete. Over 1,000 alien ships floated motionless, surrounded by the new human fleet that had appeared as if by magic. The alien commanders stared at their screens, trying to understand how their overwhelming advantage had been turned into complete defeat in less than an hour. Admiral Kethvar was the first to break the silence. His bioship drifted powerless among the human vessels, its main systems disabled by the phase shift weapons that had materialized inside his hull. His voice, when it came over the communication channels, was no longer filled with arrogance and contempt. "What do you want from us, humans?" he asked quietly. "You have demonstrated superiority. Will you now demand our surrender? Will you destroy our fleets as we intended to destroy yours?" Commander Jake Morrison, now aboard the UES Defiance, exchanged a look with Captain Nicole Hayes on the main screen. The Leviathan hung in space nearby, its massive bulk a reminder of humanity's new power. But Jake's answer surprised everyone who heard it. "We want what we've always wanted, Admiral Kethvar. Peaceful coexistence and mutual respect. We didn't come here to conquer anyone or prove we're superior. We came here to defend our people and show you what's possible when different species truly work together." Prime Crystal Zexthen's diamond body flashed with confused colors. "You could destroy us all with these new ships. Why do you speak of cooperation?" Captain Hayes answered from the Leviathan. "Because destruction isn't the point. The Kepler system has enough resources for everyone if we work together to extract them efficiently. Your biomechanical mining technology, combined with Veltari crystal refinement and Nethek energy processing, could yield benefits for all our species." To demonstrate this cooperation, the Leviathan extended its hybrid sensor systems toward the disputed Kepler system. The combination of biosensors, crystal detection arrays, and energy field scanners revealed details about the planets that none of the individual alien technologies could detect alone. Lieutenant Commander Grace Butler reported the findings from her science station. "Captain, we're detecting mineral deposits that are 3 times larger than any previous scans indicated. The combination of all 3 scanning methods is revealing resources hidden deep in the planetary cores." The readings appeared on screens throughout both human and alien fleets. The Kepler system contained enough rare minerals to supply all 4 civilizations for centuries. There were deposits of biocompatible crystals that the Zephyrians needed for their living ships. There were pure crystal formations that the Veltari required for their technology. There were energy-rich materials that the Nethek could absorb and convert to useful power. Energy Lord Vashko's gaseous form pulsed with amazement. "These readings show resources we never knew existed. Our energy sensing methods could not detect materials buried so deep in solid matter." A Zephyrian sub-commander buzzed with excitement. "The biocompatible crystals could improve our ship growing processes by 40%. We have been searching for such materials for generations." Commander Morrison opened a channel to all fleets. "This is what happens when different approaches work together instead of competing against each other. No single scanning method could have found all these resources, but when you combine biosensors, crystal arrays, and energy detection, you see things that were invisible before." The alien commanders began to understand what the humans were offering. It was not surrender or conquest. It was a completely new way of thinking about technology and cooperation. Instead of each race developing their technologies in isolation, They could share knowledge and create hybrid systems that were better than anything they could build alone. Admiral HFY was silent for a long time, processing what he had learned. Finally, he spoke again, his voice thoughtful rather than angry. For 2,000 years, the Zephyrian Empire has believed that our biotechnology was the pinnacle of achievement. We looked down on other races because their approaches were different from ours. And we Veltari have always believed that crystal-based systems were the only true path to advanced civilization. Added Prime Crystal Zex then. We thought biological systems were crude and unreliable. Energy Lord Vashko's form shifted colors as he considered the implications. The Nethek have spent millennia perfecting energy manipulation while dismissing solid matter as inferior. We never considered that combining our approach with yours could create something greater. Captain Hayes nodded from the Leviathan's bridge. That's exactly the point. Each of your civilizations has achieved amazing things, but you've been thinking in isolation for so long that you forgot what cooperation could accomplish. Humans didn't invent anything new today. We just found ways to make your existing technologies work together. The demonstration continued as human ships began working with alien vessels to establish mining operations in the Kepler system. Zephyrian bioships provided the organic components needed for living mining equipment. Veltari crystal ships contributed precision cutting tools and refinement systems. Nethek energy ships supplied the power needed to operate deep core extraction systems. The results were impressive. Mining operations that would have taken each race months to complete were finished in days. The hybrid technology extracted more materials with less damage to the planets. Everyone benefited from the cooperation. Lieutenant Commander Pete Davis reported from his tactical station aboard the Leviathan. Sir, the joint mining operation is exceeding all projections. The biomechanical extractors are working perfectly. With the crystal refinement systems, energy conversion is running at 96% efficiency. A Sauron captain who had been watching the cooperation with growing interest finally spoke up. If this integration principle works for mining, it could work for other technologies as well. Our defense systems, our exploration methods, our scientific research. Exactly, Commander Morrison replied. This doesn't have to be limited to the Kepler system. The human integration protocol could become the foundation for a new type of galactic civilization, one where all races contribute their best ideas and everyone benefits from the results. The concept began to spread through the alien fleets as commanders realized the possibilities. Instead of competing against each other for resources and territory, they could work together to achieve things that no single race could accomplish alone. Admiral HFY made the first formal offer. The Zephyrian Empire would be willing to share our biotechnology research with other races, if they would share their knowledge with us in return. Prime Crystal Zexthen's crystalline form blazed with excited colors. The Veltari Council would consider joint research projects using combined crystal and biological systems. Energy Lord Vashko pulsed with agreement. The Nethek Collective sees great potential in energy systems that incorporate solid matter components. Over the following hours, the foundation of a new galactic order was established. The human integration protocol became the basis for cooperation between species that had been rivals for thousands of years. Technology sharing agreements were drafted. Joint research projects were planned. The Kepler system became the first example of truly integrated resource extraction. Commander Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching as human and alien ships worked side by side. The battle that was supposed to determine who owned the Kepler system had instead created a new model for galactic civilization. Captain Hayes contacted him from the Leviathan. Jake, I'm getting reports from Earth. The integration protocol is being implemented throughout human space. We're already seeing improvements in our own technology as different human colonies share their innovations. Jake smiled. It seems like we've started something bigger than just solving the Kepler dispute. Admiral HFY's final transmission summed up what many were thinking. Perhaps we underestimated not just human technology, but human nature. Your species has shown us that true strength comes not from superiority, but from the wisdom to learn from others. The galaxy would never be the same.